Hi and welcome. It's Jennifer McGuire. I hope you're having a good week. Well, today I thought I would share some ideas for creating creative masked backgrounds. Masking is a great way to create backdrops for your stamped images. And I'm going to kind of step things up a little bit by incorporating both inking and stamping, double masking, and some few other tips. And the best part about this technique is that you probably have the supplies you need already to create these backgrounds. And you can use any stamps you may already have. I decided to use some new goodies from Waffle Flower. I've been wanting to use these for so long and they just released, so I'm excited to share them today. Let's start by talking about how I did the stamping of all of my colorful images. I put a bunch of images together in my MISTI stamping tool so I could stamp them all at once. I stamped them onto Copic-friendly paper with Copic-friendly ink. And then I went and I colored them. My daughter and I spent a couple days coloring a bunch of images and had such fun. Well, once I was done with all of my coloring, I put the paper back into my MISTI, and I had left all my stamps where they are, and I'm inking it up with VersaFine black ink. This is a super black crisp ink. So I'm going and stamping over my original stamping. Most Copic-friendly black inks aren't super crisp, so by double stamping with another black ink over it, you can get really dark black lines, and it really makes the images pop. So I did this for all of my images that you see today. So here's another set of stamps. I stamped them first in a Copic-friendly black ink, colored them with Copic markers, and then stamped them again with the VersaFine black ink. That's one of the advantages of having a stamping tool. You can leave your stamps in place so you can come back and later stamp it again. Now you could color these with whatever coloring method you want. I decided to use Copic because that is what my daughter and I enjoy most. Another advantage of putting all my images in my MISTI and stamping them all at once is I was able to stamp multiple sheets so I could have some for Lila to color too. Now here I'm using the coordinating dies to die cut out each of the images. I'm using the new ThermWeb purple tape to tape my dies in place as I run them through my machine. This purple tape is new and it is meant for crafting. It is meant to hold dies in place and it's low tack, so you don't have to worry about it damaging your paper. I have been really pleased with the results of the purple tape, and I actually have a technique that I can show you later in this video using the tape. Okay, so now that I have all of my dies positioned, I'm going to run them through my die cut machine. I'm using my Gemini Junior simply because it cuts like gold. However, wait, cuts like gold. Does something cut like gold? Yeah, I guess you could get Olympic medal in cutting, right? Yeah, Lila said so. Okay, so it cut right through all of those images all at once. And here you can see how the tape removes nicely. Now I also found I was able to reuse these little pieces of purple tape for several die cut runs, which was another advantage. And as I mentioned, I'll share a technique with these in a few moments. Let's go ahead and get started with creating our first background now that I have a bunch of colored images ready to go. We're going to do this card here in the center first. This uses the new Waffle Flower Wish stamp set. One of the things that I like about Waffle Flower stamp sets is they fill the stamp set with a lot of images. There's usually a few small sentiments, but it's mostly images, which is really great for creating scenes on cards or creating supporting elements. Now, the Waffle Flower stamp sets, if you buy the stamp and die combo, now come in these pockets. The cool thing about this is that there are actually two pockets inside, one for the stamps in the front and one for the die cuts in the back, and there's a closure on it and it's got that fun rainbow top. If you buy the stamps and dies separately, they just come in the regular packaging. Here you can see how this pocket compares in size to the normal stamp pockets that I normally use. Okay, so let's create our background for our cute little images. I have a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch Bristol white cardstock. You can use any white cardstock, but I like this particular Bristol because it's bright white and it blends ink beautifully. Or I should say ink blends beautifully on it. I put down a piece of Post-it tape to mask off the bottom portion of that card. However, you could use anything there, even just a piece of scrap paper, so you just have the bottom marked off or masked off. I'm using Distress Oxide inks for blending today. This is broken china, and I'm using an ink blending tool with a foam applicator and applying that lightly over that masked portion. The reason I'm using Oxide ink is because it blends like butter and it's very forgiving. I also like to kind of buff it with a dry cloth when I'm done, and it smooths it out. This blends by far better than any ink I've ever used. However, you can do ink blending with pretty much any ink, any dye or pigment ink. After I did the blue, I shifted the mask to cover up the top of the card, and now I'm applying a bit of Twisted Citron and Lucky Clover Distress Oxide inks. This creates a nice little green portion on the bottom of the card. I'm going very light-handed, starting on my Post-it tape and working my way onto the paper to get a blended look. If you've had problems with ink blending in the past, I do recommend trying Oxide inks because they really blend nicely. Now I thought I'd also do some stamping with my masking. So I have my mask covering the sky, and I'm using a little cluster of flowers from that Waffle Flower stamp set and stamping with a soft green ink. You could use the green ink you blended with, but I wanted something soft and a little bit different, so I grabbed a Waffle Flower ink to do that. Now before you try to glue anything onto this inked background, make sure it's dry or nothing will want to stick to it. So I just heat set it with my heat gun. Now I'm adding a bunch of images from that Wish stamp set, putting some down with foam tape and some with regular adhesive so I can have a bit of dimension. I'm also using a soft blue ink to stamp a few little images up in the sky. So I kind of stepped up this inked masked background by adding a little bit of stamping to it, just a little tone on tone, which really creates a lot of interest to this card. Now that I've finished, I decided I needed to find a place for a sentiment, so I used my MISTI stamping tool because I don't want to mess up the sentiment at this point. So here you can see the finished card. You have the masked background with the green and the blue, the grass and the sky, and also some soft stamping on that just to kind of step it up. I like that I only did the masking towards the center, so it has like this soft floating look to it. And then I also have a coordinating envelope. Now the Happy Mail sentiment that I used on that envelope is from this Waffle Flower Enveloper Hello stamp set. It says Happy Mail, and there are also some other images that work great on envelopes, but I decided to use Happy Mail on all of my examples today. Okay, so here is another example with a masked background that incorporates stamping. A little bit different though. This time I used the Waffle Flower Tutu Cute stamp set. I think this is probably the cutest stamp set I've seen in a long time. Again, there are lots of images in there and some cute sentiments. Okay, so let's start with our inked background. I once again have put a Post-it tape piece onto my cardstock just to mask off the bottom portion. And here I'm using an ink blending tool to apply Squeezed Lemonade Distress Oxide ink. I tell you, this ink blends better than any ink I've ever tried, especially this particular color. It is so easy to get a soft yellow background with this. It is just gorgeous. This is a new color and I highly recommend it for inked backgrounds. So you can see how beautifully that blended. And now I'm going in with some little stars and stamping them with a yellow ink just to kind of add a bit of interest to that blending. Okay, now to move my mask, I'm going to apply some brown to the bottom. I saw these little dancers and it reminded me of when I used to do dance concerts when I was little, and the stage was always hardwood. I remember that. So I thought I'd try to get that look. So I used this older Waffle Flower stamp set. It's called Plaid Play. And I thought those little lines would kind of give a hardwood look. I inked up the whole bottom portion of the card this time instead of just like a floating area. And now I am stamping with a light brown ink this little diagonal stamp repeatedly. Once I was done, I white heat embossed the image that says, "You are too cute." And then I used my shimmer pen to add shimmer to all of the ballerina dresses. So there you can see the finished card and how combining the masking of the inking and the stamping really adds a lot to that background. But because I kept everything soft, it's not too distracting from the main images. Okay, now here is another example. This one steps it up a little bit by adding even more masking. So we're going to have multiple masks here. I'm using the Waffle Flower penciled in stamp set. This one has lots of cute little images that are perfect for teacher cards, which is something that I make quite a few of. I like that it has boys and girls included and a little thank you teacher sentiment. So I'm going to use the boy and girl pencil images for my main ones, but some of the other smaller images for the background. Now for this one, I wanted to have a masked circle in the center of my card, so I die cut a large circle from a piece of 5x5 masking paper. If you don't have masking paper, you could just use some type of printer paper, something thin, and hold it in place or tape it there temporarily. I'm adding this to a 5x5 piece of Bristol cardstock, and we'll do some ink blending over this. However, we're going to double mask first. So I have actually a piece of that purple tape that I'm going to mask with this time. I found out that this purple tape is excellent for masking. It allows you to move ink around very easily next to it. Here I'm putting squeezed lemonade and wild honey down, and then I'll do some stamping over it. Here I am repeatedly stamping some of those smaller little teacher images with some orange and yellow inks. It's amazing how having those little images in the background here really adds a lot to this card. Now, one of the best things about using this purple tape for masking, which is something I'm going to do from now on, I just discovered it, is that you can wipe it clean since the inks stay wet on it. So I just used a dry cloth to just wipe it away. You can use a baby wipe too. And now that purple tape is clean, so I can use it several times with different colors of ink, which is fantastic. Here I'm applying Blueprint Sketch and Broken China. That Blueprint Sketch is a new color that's beautiful. So once I'm done with all of my masking, I can remove the mask, heat set it, adhere my little images to it, and here I am white heat embossing a sentiment. Make sure you use an anti-static powder tool before trying to heat set or heat emboss onto one of these backgrounds, because the powder will want to stick to any wet ink. So make sure you use an anti-static powder tool first. Here you can see the fun of that double masked background, adding that stamping to it. It really takes the simple card and adds a lot of interest. I also wanted to show you, using these same images, that you can use this technique on other projects too, not just card fronts. Now this one is really fun. This uses the Waffle Flower Love Notes die set. Now I really like dies that create envelopes that hold gift cards or small notes, but this one is really unique. There's a feature to it that I really like. But first I'm going to mask off this open area on the back of the gift card holder so that I can do some inking. Now I'm putting down a lot of this purple tape, but that's okay because I can reuse all of these pieces a few times. For other masking projects or for die cutting, I just kind of keep them together in my drawer. So I applied some squeezed lemonade and wild honey to the top. Those two colors, I tell you, they blend beautifully together, very easy. And towards the bottom, I'm going to do some broken china. So once I'm done inking those up, I can remove my tape, save that in my drawer, and we can assemble this little guy. Now the nice thing about this is it's easy to assemble. I'm just reinforcing the score lines here. And then you just fold it up and you get the cutest little envelope. What I really like about this is the closure. It's really fun. You see those two little holes in the front? You just take these little ribbon ends that it die cuts and you just push them through those two little holes, and that holds it closed. And it opens up very easily. I just like that it's all incorporated into that one die. So here you can see the finished product. A little gift card fits in there. You can write a little message in there too. But I thought this was perfect to give to a teacher. Doesn't take long to put together, and the die creates lots of faux stitched details, so it has a lot of interest. So I just wanted to throw that in there while I was using that penciled in stamp set. Okay, my next example shows doing masking for inking and stamping in the background, but adding more color this time. I'm using the Waffle Flower Toadally stamp set. This has lots of adorable images that I color as toads or frogs. I know they're different, but in card making, it's a magical land where you can do whatever you want. So I'm kind of making them frog toads today. Anyways, now I went ahead and colored and die cut out a bunch of those little guys. And for my background, I'm going to kind of go through this quickly since it's the same thing as before. I used the evergreen bough for the bottom and broken china and blueprint sketch for the sky. I like that you can layer the colors together to get more depth, and I wanted darker color this time. On the top, I repeatedly stamped some little music notes. On the bottom, I'm doing little waves. And I like that it's very soft, so you really only see the stamping towards the outside edges of the ink blending. So I finished this up into a card, just adding my little images. One thing I wanted to mention is if you blend your ink too far or get a little edge that you don't like, you can use your Tombow sand eraser to erase those spots. It really works well and is a handy tool to have. And there you can see the final card with lots of fun images on top in that colorful background. Okay, here's another colorful background. This time I did vertical. This I used some more images from Waffle Flower. I used a couple sets. This is the Waffle Flower Autumn Time stamp set. I really like this little ground image on the bottom. You can use that with lots of critter stamps. I didn't use it in today's card, but I hope to in the future. I also like the large images and that cute little fox. I then used the Summertime stamp set also. This one, I really like the clouds on the bottom. I think they're fun and playful, so I'll add those to my card too, and I used some flowers from this also. I like that Waffle Flower has lines of stamps from different artists that can work well together. So here I have masked and inked the top part of my card with some Squeeze Lemonade and Wild Honey ink, and I'm stamping some clouds there. I did them in yellow just for something a little bit different, and then I did green inks towards the bottom. Then I could stamp my Just a Note sentiment and then added all of my images with some foam tape. So this one just uses the same techniques I've been using. I just wanted to show you that you can really add more color and create the perfect size background for whatever images you may be using. Okay, my last card features double masking where I used both the positive and negative space of my heart mask. For this one, I used the new Waffle Flower Waving Hello stamp set. This one is a smaller stamp set, so it's got a great price point, has some fun little images in it, and that sweet Just Waving Hello sentiment. Here I have cut a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch masking paper piece, and I die cut a heart from the edge. I added it onto a piece of Bristol cardstock, and in that opening, I'm applying Picked Raspberry and Candied Apple Distress Oxide ink. These inks again blend together very nicely. I like to start with one color, then apply the other color, and then go back and blend in the middle with the first. Once I'm done, I can remove my mask and heat set that because we want to make sure that our mask can stick to that once it's dry. This time I'm putting the positive mask down to cover that up, and I'm going to add a little bit of that Squeeze Lemonade right over the edge. So it ends up with like this glow around the heart that is just beautiful. I'm telling you that Squeeze Lemonade is great for backgrounds. Okay, so now when I remove this, I have this gorgeous inked area. It's amazing how easy that is. I then added some cute little images to that and a white heat embossed Just Waving Hello sentiment. And there you have a very quick, simple, double masked background. All right, I hope these inspire you to kind of step up your masking a bit to create fun backgrounds. If you are interested in any of the products that I use today, I do link them below in my YouTube description, but go to my blog for much more information. In the middle here are a couple other masking videos that might inspire you also. I appreciate you spending time here. If you haven't done so, click subscribe so you can see future videos. I appreciate the visit, and we'll see you soon.